Good morning, everybody. Steve Dryskowski, State Representative from Mazeppa. Today we are asking the Federal Internal Revenue Service and the Minnesota Department of Revenue to review the tax filings of U.S. Representative Ilhan Omar on several grounds. I am joined by 9 Minnesota State Representatives in making these requests, and I think there's 6 here today. These representatives include Glenn Gruenhagen of Glencoe, Eric Lucero of Dayton, Shane Mecklin of Clear Lake, Tim Miller of Prindsburg, Linda Runbeck of Circle Pines, Cal Barr of East Bethel, John Poston of Lakeshore, Dwayne Quam of Byron, and Jeremy Munson of Lake Crystal. We are making this request on 3 direct grounds. First, Representative Omar improperly and deliberately filed for a tax status for which she was not qualified, an illegal action in both federal and state law. The Minnesota Campaign Finance Board found on June 6th of this year that she illegally used campaign funds to pay a law firm to review her tax records. The Campaign Finance Board exposed crystal clear probable cause for a tax fraud or tax evasion investigation when they discovered that Representative Omar filed as married and filing jointly with Mr. Ahmad Hersey in 2014 and 2015. During those years, she was legally married to Mr. Ahmad Elmi. Did the illegal filing produce a lower tax liability for the couple? Did her illegal tax filing bring her tax exemption for which she was not legally qualified? Usually people choose the tax filing status that yields them the lowest tax liability. Also, the board shared that the couple filed jointly during 2 specific years. Ilhan Omar and Ahmad Hersey have been together as a couple for 17 years. Given her record of crimes and violations of so many laws, it may be worth evaluating her claims of status in those other years as well. Second, Representative Omar lived together simultaneously with her first and second husbands at the same addresses in Minnesota and North Dakota in 2009 through 2011. The tax enforcers may need to check if she used an illegal tax filing status and obtained tax deductions, including standard deduction levels for which she was not qualified in those years. Third, we know that Representative Omar took improper kickbacks from 3 Minnesota colleges in 2017 when she oversaw their state budgets in 2017. Under campaign pressure, she returned those kickbacks in 2018. It is worth checking to see if she reported the kickbacks as income in 2017 or deducted the paybacks as expenses in 2018. 5 grounds for an investigation include corruption in public office and tax evasions on grounds of illegal filing status, improper deductions, concealed income from kickbacks, and improper claims for expenses. We are also aware of Representative Omar's pattern of improper conduct. She has been fined by the Campaign Finance Board for diverting campaign funds for an unpermitted political trip to Orlando. She has been directed to pay back her expenses for uncovered political trips to Boston, New York, Philadelphia, Chicago, Florida, and Washington, D.C. She has been punished for conversion of campaign funds to pay for personal legal and accounting services. She has flouted laws regarding the filing of her personal financial data in a way that distorted the political campaign process. On June 25th, I asked my Congresswoman Angie Craig to launch an investigation into these improprieties. That went nowhere. She said, do it yourself. So on July 23rd, I asked the U.S. House Ethics Committee to investigate Representative Omar. That request is currently being reviewed by the Office of Congressional Ethics. On that same day, I launched OmarTruth.com in an effort to rally Minnesotans and Americans to help bring political pressure to bring about a congressional investigation. After 2 weeks, we have over 44,000 citizens expressing their strong desire to bring about a full investigation, and the list is growing. I will be adding today's request to the facts available on omartruth.com. Today, I and 9 other representatives are asking the nonpartisan federal and state tax enforcers to open investigations. We are simply asking them to do their jobs. You guys have anything? Questions, anyone?
Do state lawmakers have sway to influence the IRS or Minnesota Department of Revenue? Have you successfully asked for such things in the past? Is there a precedent?
I think certainly there's precedent, and I think it's incumbent upon us, Mary, lawmakers, the media, and others, when they see very clear, blatant violations of our laws, to find every way we can to appeal to the people who can investigate and prosecute those laws. And that's what we're doing here today.
How would a state lawmaker's request be different, though, than an average citizen? That's what I'm asking. Do you have any special sway or ability to request something?
You know, I don't think so. You know, I guess the fact that we each represent 40,000 people might be helpful, and it might be something that that those individuals take under consideration. But this gives us an ability, I think, to, in an organized, deliberative fashion, say, we have asked the Minnesota Department of Revenue to do their job. We have asked the IRS to do their job. Before we got here today, we don't know if they have been fully informed and appraised of these facts. After today, we can be sure that they have been fully informed and appraised of these facts.
So President Trump has an obvious place in this as the head of the federal executive branch. Would you like him to ask the IRS to do this? He could have more sway.
Well, he would have a lot more sway. Yeah. You know, I don't know that it's really our job to make that request to the president. I think he is aware of what is going on. I expect he is. You know, this effort today may make him more aware of some of those details, and it will be his decision as he looks at the facts and the circumstances in Washington to make that call.
Is that part of your goal today, to get more of his attention?
I think it's our goal to get his attention and every American's attention about what is going on here. It seems to me that that if this was a conservative Republican, that we would already have action going forward. And the fact that no one is above the law needs to be remembered here, and our agencies need to do their work.
If it was a conservative Republican, there's a lot of questions about President Trump's own taxes. Do you think he should be investigated for his own taxes?
Well, I think people have asked President Trump to bring his taxes forward for political reasons. I don't know that there's been anything expressed to show that there's probable cause for a crime.
Well, the New York Times investigation of his father's finances.
I just want to say here a couple things. One, the entities that were contacted to try and look into it have jurisdiction. You know, the House and the Department of Revenue and the IRS. So that's what's key. The other thing is, it's public. When the results came out from the Campaign Finance Board, it was public. Some of the media covered this. It's out there. There's actual findings by a governmental agency. That's a huge difference than speculation and trying to troll for stuff. It's pretty obvious. If gray area on a deduction on taxes, that's a big difference than on the front page. Obviously, up front, there's something there. So, maybe the questioning should be more towards why haven't they already followed up as soon as it became public?
Thank you. What Representative Quam said. By the way, no one has refuted the probable cause that the Minnesota Campaign Finance Board has exposed. No one's refuted that. None.
Could the IRS, the Department of Revenue, be looking into this? I don't know that it would be public that they are.
They could be, Mary. I don't know if they are. I don't know if they aren't. This way we're certain that the information is in front of them and that they're fully informed.
Should we know, as a public, who IRS and Department of Revenue is looking into? If they're looking into you, should we know that? What should we know from a public standpoint?
I haven't really thought about that. I think that's beyond the scope of what we're asking today, but It's a good question.
Well, I mean, it's a fair question. You were asking that they investigate, and the question is like, are they allowed, should they be allowed to say, yeah, we heard you, and yeah, we're gonna investigate her?
Well, I would like to hear that, but I don't know if, I haven't thought about or examined whether that's a good public policy approach and what that means for data, et cetera. But Representative Miller's got a comment.
Thank you, Representative Tim Miller, Princeburg. I think that's a good question, but it also raises the question as to what the focus is here and what's been the focus of what Representative Drazkowski has been doing to this point. We're asking for investigations. We aren't declaring conclusions on those investigations. We're asking that the appropriate bodies, as Representative Quam said, investigate to their scope of what they're responsible for to see. There's a lot of things that are suspect here. I can tell you the reason why I'm here today is because the people of my district have continually said words to the effect of, when is someone going to do something about this congresswoman who appears to be acting above or outside the law and doesn't seem to care. So we're trying to hold that accountable here, but we're trying to hold her accountable by just asking the appropriate bodies to investigate. Let them find their conclusions. So to the IRS, do we need to know that they're investigating? I don't think we personally need to know. I think some insurance to the public that nobody is above the law, that elected people don't get to circumvent basic rules when we apply for our taxes. That's what people are asking for. And so I certainly hope that they do that. And I certainly hope that Congress, I understand that we have a Democrat majority Congress, and us in politics understand what that means. There's a level of protectionism there for her. But the people are demanding us to stop, to set aside bipartisan politics on many fronts. And this is an opportunity for that ethics committee to investigate. Let them find what they're going to find, but at least investigate. That's what their responsibility is.
Representative Drazkowski, I'm trying to understand something here because I'm a little confused. Okay. The President has had an exchange of tweets and in the media that's been highly publicized with Representative Omar. And last time you were here, I don't think with your other colleagues, but you mentioned that you were trying to get the President's attention on this particular issue, but he doesn't seem to have looked into this. Whether these allegations are substantiated or not, or unsubstantiated, there would be a lot of political capital to be made by hooking into this particular aspect of it. Do you have any theories about why he hasn't?
Well, this isn't about the president or his job is much greater than this. I think Representative Quam pointed out clearly. It's these agencies that it's their job to do this, and that's who we're appealing to. This is the right place to go. It's not to go to the president, it's to go to these agencies. The IRS commissioner is the right person to go to. Commissioner Bowerly here in Minnesota is the right person to go to.
If you got the President's attention, you would.
I mean, we could say, should Governor Walz be appealed to on this as well? I mean, you could do the same. You could do the same thing. But neither one of them. Well, they still have their constitutional jobs.
But it does, and you know that.
Yeah, but I mean, it's really no different. And to try to make a political piece out of this is not what we're doing. So
I'm going to add to that. So the comment was just made that Governor Walz is a Democrat and the commissioner is a Democrat. That shouldn't matter. This is not a partisan issue. This is about the rule of law. And as Representative Drazkowski and Representative Miller mentioned, we're all equal under the law. But based on the evidence that's available, Congresswoman Omar appears that she might be above the law. And this is not just a one-time action. There are repeated actions that she's taken, deliberative actions, that demonstrate that she doesn't necessarily have to abide by the law. And that's why we're appealing to this, and it's not to be political. It's that we're all equal, we're all held to the same standard.
Representative Drazkowski, quick question then. So, combined with President Trump's tweets about Ilhan Omar should go back to Somalia and his supporters chanting, send her back, and then the actions that you have taken, what kind of concern do you have for the Congresswoman's personal safety with all this drumbeat of allegations against her?
well, I think I think probably everybody's got concerns about their safety. I have a lot of people ask me about my personal safety too. I think there's all concerns, and it would be best served for the government and the media to do their job on this. And you guys have been asleep at the switch on this, as I pointed out in the past. So I appreciate you being here today, and appreciate you sharing this information with Minnesotans and Americans so they know there's somebody going forward to actually make certain that our Department of Revenue and our IRS know about these very crystal clear probable cause situations exposed by a Minnesota government agency, and that their need is to act.
But you've been going after her for a long time, since she was in the legislature, and is this all, what kind of a campaign strategy is this to get this all on the record when she runs for re-election next year?
It's not a campaign strategy, and I haven't been doing it the whole time she's been in the legislature. As I've mentioned in the past, I learned about this in June of last year when I saw some of her violations with the Campaign Finance Board, and my focus has not been on political stuff, and you guys want to bring up political stuff. I don't know why. I have suspicions. It's been mentioned that our Minnesota media is very liberal, and I'm sensing that today, but the reality is we haven't been bringing that up. It hasn't been about political situations. It's been about the rule of law, as Representative Lucero pointed out. And that's what we're here about today. That's what you'll find in the statements that were made earlier. That's what you'll find in the press release. And that's what you'll find in the letter.
Representative, what are you looking for the outcome from the IRS? Like, what are the potential penalties if she's already corrected those tax returns? If they,
Yeah, I haven't investigated to know exactly what those potential penalties are. And I think it probably is a lot of it, I suspect a lot of it, as a lot of investigations are, is circumstantial and will be decided by whoever investigates and or prosecutes. So I can't really, ponder in that area.
And I don't think that's our responsibility. We're elected by people to come and do their business, and that means a lot of different things. That means passing a biennium budget. That means addressing issues that are important to our district, like a road or something like that. Again, people are saying there is ample evidence that there are things going on here where she is acting above and beyond the law. So when you ask what the conclusion is, that's up to the IRS, that's up to the Minnesota Department of Revenue, that's up to U.S. Congress. Again, this is sort of the question that kind of leads to what do we want to politically gain out of this. That's not our goal here today. I understand that she's a Democrat, I'm a Republican, okay? But we're both American citizens, and we both are held to the same level of law. So this is not an attack on her because of who she is. It's actually because of her behavior, as Representative Drazkowski said, many times over. And when the questions have been asked, so as Representative Drazkowski said, he went to his congresswoman and said, that's the appropriate person to go to. I want you to do something about it. She effectively said, I don't want to do it, you do it. So he's doing that. And so now he's being told that he's partisan because he's addressing the rule of law, which is what the people have asked us to do.
what about the perspective of state lawmakers? You write law. The Minnesota Department of Revenue is being asked here, what should be the penalties in state law that you all have access to writing in this instance?
I will just, maybe Glenn or others have a response too, but I lost my train of thought, Mary.
State law, let's take you back to state law. Since you're
Okay.
state lawmakers, you can write what the penalty should be, at least for the state Department of Revenue, if this is indeed a fraudulent filing. Is existing law enough, or should this be an area of state law that you should look into?
I asked staff to do a little background research on some of the court cases that may have happened. And I've asked groups, I've said, how many have done that, where they filed with somebody who's not their spouse jointly? I haven't met a person yet that has. I suspect there may not be any precedent for this
So you couldn't
in
find
state
any
law.
case law on this?
Not so far, and there's been some work put into it.
But people do make mistakes on their taxes and then later correct those mistakes, willfully or not. I mean, that's not an unheard of thing, right?
Yeah,
Go
it's
back.
unheard of not knowing who your husband is, though.
Can I reference?
Before Mary, one thought too, and some of you folks have brought up and tried to make this a political thing, which Representative Miller pointed out is not. I've had, and as I pointed out in past press conferences, I've had a number of Democrats come to me and encourage me around this effort. But can you imagine their situation if they were standing here today and what they'd face in the Democrat Party? If that's helpful to you.
Can I back reference your website earlier? I believe you said 44,000 people. Can you specify what that is on your website and what they're asking for, that number, and what that really is?
Yeah, we have, so it's omartruth.com, thanks for the plug. And what that is the number of people that have signed a petition encouraging Congress to open a congressional ethics investigation.
What is your position on running for the 2nd district?
I'm not running.
Not running for anything but your House seat at this point?
I need to start running because elk hunting's coming in October and I'm running a little fat, Mary.
So you do
I
plan
need
to
to
run
run.
for your House seat again at this point?
I need to run hard.
Yeah.
Is that your plans, though?
I may or may not. I haven't made that decision yet.
Okay.
So not the 2nd congressional district, maybe your House district. Are there other offices you're thinking about running for?
It's outside the scope.
It's really not what we're talking about
That's
here today.
okay. I'm asking you.
I'm here today working hard on behalf of my constituents. Anybody else got anything?
Yeah, we could be fishing, or, or we're hunting, or, out in the, it's a beautiful day. The storm's through, it's cooler and drier. But frankly, there comes a point at where you actually have to say, hey, people, we're not going to just say, well, it's a legislator, elected official, they get by. We need to show the integrity of our, local and federal elected officials matters, which means when something comes out publicly by a nonpartisan, independent entity that finds stuff on Republicans and Democrats and independents, and it's public, we need to say, hey, we as representatives believe that the law applies to all. That if you're part of the Cool Kids Club in Congress, you still have to obey the law. And that's what we're here for. We're not here for anything else. It's a lot easier to just say, oh, I'm sure somebody's taking care of it. But we thought maybe there'd be some coverage to help drive that. And part of the reason to be here is to show that we've got support. We got people asking us, each one of us has people asking us, does the law matter or not? And that's the base question. And as said before, it's not, oh gee, was this deductible or not? That gray area, it's pretty obviously on the front. When you mark down, did your filing jointly? That would be a hard, whoops. I never forget my wife's name.
And 2 years.
All right, thanks everybody.
Thank you.
2 weeks.